Hi everyone, Dr. Josh here. Apologize, we had some technical difficulties trying to figure things out. Looks like if you are in a waiting room during this presentation, that you're going to stay in the waiting room indefinitely because we were having some issues and we were having issues with people being in a waiting room and not being able to join in. So they're not showing up. So it is what it is. We're just going to do a live recording and that's what it's going to be. To start, we're going to do our presentation. So, chiropractic, why it's important. Chiropractic care, what is it? Chiropractic medicine is based on the link between alignment of the spine and function of the body. A core tenet of chiropractic medicine is the belief that the body has the ability to heal itself if given proper support. And with the use of manual manipulation of the spine, chiropractors believe that they can improve a person's health without surgery or medicine. So that's pretty much the basis of chiropractic. You know, we believe that we can help people heal themselves by treating the spine, and that our profession is not a profession of advanced intervention, things like surgery or other medicine. It's very conservative, and we use our hands mostly in a traditional chiropractic fashion. And cool little tidbit in there is that it comes from it comes from Greek words meaning done by hands or hands-on therapy, which I just thought that was pretty cool. Chiropractic, a conservative option. Chiropractic is considered a conservative care option due to its lack of invasive procedures, kind of like I said before. Therefore, we are a first-line defense for your problems and concerns. Chiropractic is routinely recommended as a conservative option to try before going towards advanced interventions. If chiropractic is unable to get you the help you need, you can always do invasive procedures after. So again, kind of reiterating what I said before, we're a conservative care option, which means that you can always do us first. And if for some reason things don't work out and you don't succeed, then you can always try surgery after. But if you try something like surgery first, you know, sometimes that can lead to things like taking things out. And so, you know, we can do some things afterwards depending on what the surgery is, but always routinely recommend conservative before. They always recommend trying something like a conservative care option before you go towards surgery anyways. At least most surgeons will recommend that you try a conservative care option like PT or chiropractic, that is. So, and of course, that's our beautiful LED neon sign. So, how does chiropractic care work? Chiropractic utilizes what is known as grade 5 manual manipulation, aka high velocity, low amplitude thrust, or in other words, the twist and pop, right? So traditionally, you know, or on TikTok or whatever, you're gonna see people using their hands, and you're gonna see, you know, the bends and pops and twists and that kind of stuff, and that is chiropractic right there. You know, most PTs won't do stuff like that. They'll do a grade 4 mobilization, which is putting that joint through that range of motion without getting that cavitation. But the cavitation, which is that popping sound, that's chiropractic, that twist and pop, the TikTok pops. Why do we do this? The technique is utilized to facilitate motion through the vertebral column. Mobilizations of the spine can not only decrease pain through movement, but they can also influence the neurology of the brain to release endogenous opioids, through thereby also decreasing pain. So this is a very higher level understanding of a manipulation. If something's not moving, it's actually allowing for perceived pain input. But as soon as we adjust someone, it not only restores that motion and movement and stimulates the mechanoreceptors, which then decrease or inhibit the sensation and the perception of pain, but it also releases endogenous opioids, like enkephalins. So it's pretty cool stuff. Dysfunction of the spine can cause dysfunction elsewhere. So kids with ear infections can also have atlas subluxations. People with TMJ dysfunction can stem from C1 dysfunction. Digestional issues can arise from lumbar spine dysfunction. So this is what we call a visceral somatic or somatic visceral relationship, where there's a relationship between organs and there's a relationship between the spine, and it can happen vice versa, meaning that it can happen where there's an issue in the spine and that can cause issues in the digestion system, or there's issues in the digestive system and that can present in the spine. And that's kind of what I was just trying to illustrate there with ear infections and atlas issues, or digestional issues and dysfunction in the lumbar spine. Manipulation of the spine can reduce stress on the nervous system, allowing for more efficient biomechanical movement and facilitated musculature through increased nervous output. This is why athletes see us. So again, I think it's about 8% increased output from the nervous system. My dad has a patient that likes to get adjusted before he lifts legs because it increases the output. That's why a bunch of athletes also usually have a team chiropractor to increase performance biomechanically through better movement, but also through increased nervous output. Spinal pain related stats. So this is something that I just thought was super interesting, that I think a lot more people should be aware of, because even though our goal is not to have you focus on your pain, it's usually what brings most people in through the door, unfortunately. Back pain and spinal pain is a very prominent problem, and it's, I guess you would say good for our profession, because it means the door is always going to be open. But unfortunately, it's a debilitating issue for a lot of people, and I wish more people knew about us and that we could probably help them. So according to the CDC, back or spine pain is the second leading cause of disability. Between 1996 and 2016, healthcare spending for low back and neck pain consistently ranked among the top 5 conditions in the US. The top 5 for low back and neck pain. People are putting a lot of money in, and most of the time that money is going towards things like surgery. Low back pain disorders are among the most common and debilitating conditions in Western society. In the US, up to 80% of adults will experience at least one episode of low back pain in their lifetime. 80% of people will experience one episode of low back pain in their lifetime. That's majority of the people, right? 8 out of 10, okay? In terms of cost, spinal pain represents the most costly healthcare condition in the US, with estimates exceeding $134 billion. So pretty crazy stuff. Like I said, it's not something that I like people to focus on, but I want people to be more aware that, if they have discomfort in their spine, whether that be the neck or the low back, it's something a lot of people go through in life, and that it's very expensive. And so that's why something like chiropractic care and conservative care, and looking forward beyond that, maintenance and wellness care is huge and vital for this, because we are great with dealing with low back pain and neck pain. in addition to other things as well. Health and wellness. It's time for definitions. Health, the overall condition of an organism at a given time. Example would be he is in poor health or he is in good health. Wellness, the condition of good physical and mental health, especially when actively maintained by proper diet, exercise, and avoidance of risky behaviors. Example, here at Sopchak Natural Health and Wellness Center, we approach your care from a wellness angle, okay? So there's a difference between health and wellness. Health is just a state, right? You can be in poor health, you can be in good health. But wellness is actively pursuing healthy habits, right? So that means you're trying to get good exercise, of course, seeing your local chiropractor, pursuing mental health practices, things like gratitude and whatnot, trying to eat a very healthy diet, reducing toxin exposure, getting exercise, right? These are all things that can push you towards that wellness. Wellness, again, I'm going to reiterate, the condition of good physical and mental health, especially when actively maintained by proper diet, exercise, and avoidance of risky behaviors. Here I highlighted actively maintained. So I always try to express this to my patients because I think it's super important that our role is a two-way road, right? We have to work together, and it has to be, you put effort in and I put effort in, and it's us working together to reach your goals, right? I have my goals to help you as a patient, but we also want to reach your goals, because at the end of the day, if we can get you back to, whatever you are doing regularly, that's going to be huge. And you're going to see the benefit in the things we do and see the success in that, because you're able to get back to the things that you want to do, right? So that's a good measurement for care, not necessarily success, but for care, we're moving in the right direction if we're starting to get you back to the things that you want to do. And it does go beyond that, right? Once we get you back to that kind of thing, we want you to then look beyond and think, what else can I do, right? And that's how we strive toward that wellness, which is, that diet, that exercise, and proper mental health, and, get your wellness adjustments in, of course. So the active wellness lifestyle. At Sopchak Natural Health and Wellness Center, we believe that in order to treat a person, we must look at them as a whole rather than the sum of their parts. In other words, we must view our patient as a complex unit rather than reducing them to a single system. I'll give an example. If you're a struggling flower, we want to look at the soil, the water, the sunlight, not just the petals that are dying, okay? So you are a complex individual. There's a lot of different parts that go into why you come in our door. And so that's what we try to figure out as physicians when you're sitting in front of us telling us your story. You may have bent over to pick something up and instantly felt something in your back, right? But we know that that may be the mechanism of injury, but it didn't just happen because your fragile little spine bent, pick something up, and then instantly, pop in pain, right? It's, a progress of issues and injuries down the line. Usually we're talking, 5, 10, 20 years of stress on your spine and body that has contributed to where you were in that moment in time when you did the wrong things at the right time, and that led to your pain and discomfort and whatnot. So anyways, to recap, this is what I want you to think of moving forward: mind, body, and meals, right? So you're thinking physical, chemical, and emotional, okay? So the first one, mind. Your thoughts and beliefs and expectations influence how you perceive your condition. If you are depressed, believe that your condition will never go away, and are afraid to move, you will self-limit your own success. So this is, I did a little video on this back in January or February, I think. But it was, I kind of talked about yellow flags. And this is something that, I try to listen for as people talk. And it's not something that usually people will overtly say, but they will mention things like, I'm really nervous about this. Like, I feel like this isn't going to go the right way or something like that. I feel like it's, this is getting really bad or something like that. People will exhibit fear of their condition, and then they'll say they don't want it to get worse, meaning that they don't want it to catastrophize it. And it's like, it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. And so if you don't believe that you can get through whatever condition that you're dealing with, then you're not going to get through it usually. And those yellow flags will inhibit your success. So it's super important that, when you're in our office and we're trying to work with you and get you beyond into that, wellness, striving actively towards, proper diet, exercise, chiropractic, etc., that you really give us a chance and believe in our recommendations and believe in yourself that you're going to get through whatever you're going through. Because again, we have multiple different components. You're a complex individual. And so if we can only do as much, we can only do our own part. And if we can't, and if you're over here, self-doubting and not believing in what we do, that's, we're a train and we have a roadblock, right? And that's how it's going to be. Maybe we can push the log out of the way, but it's definitely going to slow the train down. So believe in yourself. Self-management techniques. So these would be some things that you can do to start practicing that positive outlook, start believing in yourself and believing in that you can change what you're going through. Mindfulness. Practice being thankful for what you have and share it with others. This is such an easy thing that most people can do. And I think a lot of people are thankful for what they have, and they wait for things like maybe Thanksgiving or holidays to share how thankful they are. But something that would be great in your life to regularly practice would be mindfulness. If you start practicing being thankful and thinking about that and having a journal, then you can build on that and you can reflect on that later for everything in life that you're thankful for. And it's going to get hard. This is something that, my coach recommended when I was in college, and I didn't totally get it at the time. And, to be honest, I thought it was maybe even a little silly. But it did get hard. I remember he would stop us after practice and ask, what's 2 things that you're thankful for or grateful for, etc. And, maybe I had one thing, right? But I really had to stop and think for the second one. And sometimes I would just be standing there as he's looking at me like, and he'd be waiting for me to to give him something. And so it's just a really great practice to do daily, and it helps you have that positive outlook, because if you're a positive person, then things positive will happen around you and you're better able to see that positive stuff around you. But if you have a pessimistic or a negative attitude, all you're going to see is the negative things in your life. The gratitude journal, that pretty much goes along with that. The journal and tracking what you're thankful for, that's kind of addition to the mindfulness. Meditation, you take a few minutes to focus on the good in your day at the beginning or the end of the day, reflect on that. That's kind of goes along with the mindfulness. You could practice things like prayer, or NET is something that we used to offer in our office. It's called neuro-emotional technique. and the premise is issues in your tissues. So they used acupuncture wrist points like this and right here, and all those previous memories are associated with usually negative, or can be usually negative emotions that you've experienced in your life, and that goes to affect you. And sometimes it can be stored in different places in your body. For example, I don't know why I remember this, but I remember I was always having this cramping issue in my calves my sophomore year. And I was, my dad kind of looked at me from a physical aspect, and, we tried compression sleeves, we tried, new spikes, we tried different things, and I still was having that cramping issue the same time, 600 meters into my 800 every single time. And I was running about the same time, and it was really frustrating from an athletic standpoint. And then we started, I think he got certified in that NET, and then we started working on that, and it cleared it up. And it was the weirdest thing that something like that could just clear it up. But it takes those mental issues that you have, or maybe you have, or you don't know you have, and it kind of forces you to deal with it and think on it, and that you actually physically release that. And for me, it was, a release of, tension in my gastroc muscle, which is my calf, and it really helped me. So it was really cool. Oh, and it's something that we don't have in our practice at the moment, but hopefully in the future, we do have a resource to share for NET for people who want it. But her schedule is pretty busy because she's a great woman. So emotional freedom technique is another thing that we offer at our office. It's tapping on different points in the body. And first you have to say, you're okay with such and such. If you have like anxiety or something like that, say, I totally and completely accept myself that I have anxiety, that kind of thing. And then you keep repeating that mantra as you tap on different points. And then you kind of go all the way down. That was abbreviated, but you kind of go all the way down, and then you take a deep breath in, then exhale, and then you rate it on a scale of 0 to 10. And then you keep rinsing and repeating until you feel like you've lowered that level down to a level that's manageable. And it's a great self-management tool to help, deal with any, anxiety or mental issues that you have, with something. So body, the human body was built and designed to move. At no point in time have we ever been as consistently static as we are now. When we think about movement, it's important to conceptualize three components: segmental, regional, and global. Segmental, how each vertebral joint complex functions in the spine. Regional, how each spinal region collectively functions to perform a movement. Global, how the spine and extremities move together to perform an exercise. So a couple of different things about this. A lot of us sit for a majority of the day. I was listening to this podcast, and it was kind of funny. He was like, most people will have a 30-minute to an hour commute, and they'll be sitting in the car driving. And then if they have a desk job, they'll go to work and they'll sit for 8 hours, and then they'll have that 30-minute to an hour drive home sitting again, and then they'll go home and sit and eat, and then maybe they'll go home and sit and spend some time with their significant other. So if you think about it, you probably sit a large portion of the day, and it's just super important that you really get up and move. You may not want to if you've had a long day at work, but you don't have to. Small steps. You don't have to, if you haven't worked out before, just start with a small thing. Go for a walk. It's great to go walk after you eat because it lowers your postprandial glucose level, which just means that it lowers your glucose spike in your blood after you eat. So, maybe you could add in going for a walk after dinner, and, maybe 10, maybe 20, maybe 30 minutes, something, whatever is relative to you. But just try to get more movement. We don't move enough. We were born to move. We evolved from moving. We used to hunt and gather and pick berries. And, if you look at primitive tribes over in Africa or South America, a lot of them are in pretty good shape because they basically exercise for their life. So it would be something that's great for you. It'd be something that's great for your spine, to just get up and move and make sure you stay true to that 9 times out of 10, maybe 5 out of 7 days a week. Give yourself some rest days if you need it, but try to do something. I work out like 4 to 5 days a week, and on my rest days, sometimes I will take an actual rest and recovery, and that's good for you. But also sometimes I will try to make sure that I do something on those days, whether it's walking or whatever. So yeah, and then segmental, regional, global, that's chiropractic speak right there. 3 different regions of the spine: cervical, thoracic, lumbar. Segmental is how each vertebral unit moves, right? And so when we're palpating, we're feeling for restrictions, maybe fixations or tender spots or hypertonic spots, points where the muscle kind of feels tight and it's not, or it's really tight and it's palpable. So that's segmental level. Regional, we look at the cervical spine as a whole, the thoracic spine as a whole, the lumbar spine as a whole. We want to make sure all of those are moving well, after the adjustment or even during the adjustment. And then global would be, your exercise, right? So that's why, at our office, we do look at your extremities. We look at your feet, your knees, your hips, maybe your shoulders, your elbows, your wrists, right? Because it's important to look at the kinetic chain, which would be, this whole unit, right? Or in the lower half of the body, the lumbar spine, through the hips, knees, and feet, that kinetic chain. So, this is an interesting point. How often do you take each joint in your body through their full range of motion? I can't say, being a chiropractor, that I do this on a regular basis. I try to make sure I have decent range of motion, whether that's stretching or, mobilization things that I do in the gym before I work out. But, most of the time, everything's in front of us, computer, cooking, TV, video games, headphones, drinking, everything's in front of us. So you usually do everything in front of you, but usually don't do anything behind. And most of the time you probably don't get full rotation of your body. So, that'd be another small thing that you could start implementing in your life, is just making sure you take every motion through, or every joint through its full range of motion. Because if you don't use it, you lose it. Exercise, movement is medicine. I truly believe this. And it's really cool because, a lot of research is coming out that points towards this, whether it's pointing towards chiropractic care for different spinal pains, or, PT towards, they can also help with spinal pains and whatnot. The research shows that chiropractic plus exercise is cream of the crop, right? That's the best. So usually when we get you to phase 2, or even phase 1 for some of you, we like to look at adding different things that you can do in the off time, because we only see you for a small chunk in the day. So what are you doing the rest of the day when you're not in our office? So it's important, again, and that establishes that active care role where you're taking charge of your own issue or condition and you want to better it yourself. You don't just put that all on us. So if it doesn't go well, right, then you you shouldn't blame us, but if it does go well, if it goes great, then you should take some of that benefit, that glory, because you've helped yourself and we have maybe just facilitated that quicker. So again, movement is medicine. Things that you can do: resistance training, which would be weightlifting, aerobic activity, walk, run, bike, row, even swimming, yoga, Pilates, Qigong, group fitness clubs like Orange Theory or F45, rock climbing, CrossFit, diaphragmatic breathing. A lot of us do not breathe with our belly like we're supposed to. If you want to tell, this is what you do. You put your hand on your chest and on your belly. You take a deep breath in. If your belly goes first, that's how you know you're breathing with your belly. If your chest goes first, that's how you know you're breathing with your chest. And most people breathe with their chest. Why? Because societal reasons. Because we gotta suck in our gut. We gotta look good. So diaphragmatic breathing, correlated exercises, dead bugs, bird dogs, planks, Pallof press, that kind of stuff, swimming, and of course chiropractic, right? Because the adjustment helps put motion and movement into the spine, right? So it's great for your spine. So the last one, meals. Ever heard of the saying, you are what you eat? That saying could not be more true. Eating foods that contribute to inflammation will ultimately lead to things like chronic fatigue, depression, autoimmune disease, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, osteoarthritis. Yes, osteoarthritis. You heard that right. The food you eat can affect that. Additionally, inclusion of supplements is necessitated because of the decrease in the quality of the soil that we once had. Supplements supplement nutrients lost or under assimilated through diets. So I kind of wanted to highlight this area here. It's pretty complex. So the main thing is that the standard American diet consumes 60% calories or 60% carbohydrates. And ultimately what that boils down to is sugar. So if you're eating carbohydrates, that's going to boil down to glucose eventually. So eating things like seed oils can then produce inflammatory cascade. Same with the carbohydrates, the seed oils. That's all going to create and promote this inflammation in your body. It's not the traditional inflammation that you may think. It's not the traditional inflammation that you might think. They call it low-grade systemic inflammation, which just means that it's at an imperceptible level. It's not the, red, hot, painful, swollen inflammation that you typically know. It's a level that you can't perceive. And so, ultimately, this can perpetuate things like the perception of pain because that inflammation is there systemically. So an example would be, if you eat a diet rich in seed oils, which if you're asking yourself what are seed oils, I implore you to look this up because they are in everything and it's very hard to avoid because it's subsidized by the government, which means that, farmers who farm that, they get a lot of money for producing those crops. And so it's subsidized and it's cheap. And so they use that oil, that processed oil, and they put it in their foods because it's cheap. And the unfortunate thing is that this contributes to an imbalance in omega-6 to omega-3 ratio. And so the traditional American diet goes to a 20-to-1 ratio of omega-6 to omega-3, which is not good. And that contributes to inflammation. You want to bring that back down to a 4-to-3 ratio. Omega-6s aren't bad, so I don't want you to take that away either. Omega-6s are good in the right balance, in the right context. So having things like seed oils, a lot of carbohydrates, sugars, processed foods, like the cookies and the cakes that you buy at the grocery stores, this all contributes to inflammation. So this whole cascade is just saying that the foods you eat, once you assimilate it, the omega-6s go into the cell membrane, they create free radicals and these inflammatory cytokines, the NF-κB, and produce substance P, which is a pain neurotransmitter, and creates inflammatory interleukins, which are cytokines 1 and 6. And that's all gonna affect your cell and your body, and it's just not good. So that's why it's important to make sure that you're it's important to make sure that you strive for eating well and better and trying to get more organic foods in and trying to eliminate those processed foods, because it's all going to perpetuate towards that pain. So here I was just highlighting some foods. So we have some inflammatory foods over here, right here. Refined sugars, refined grains, that'd be like white flour, white bread, grain flour products, trans fats. Trans fats are horrible because they will actually orient themselves. Anyways, they will orient themselves in a way where they can lie down flat in your blood vessels, versus a saturated fat, which is usually a boat configure, so it doesn't do that well, just electrically. So and omega-6 seed oils, corn oil, safflower oil, sunflower oil, those are some seed oils. There's a bunch of different ones. Things that are anti-inflammatory, so I definitely wanted to highlight this one because this is the good one. This one's more important, and I want you to take this away. Things that would be good for you. So that would be grass-fed meat, wild game. Meats are good for you, especially when they're grass-fed. Wild caught fish, not farm-raised fish. Wild caught fish are good for you, especially because farm fish have more heavy metals in them, which is a totally different ball game. Shellfish, chicken, omega-3 eggs, cheese, vegetables, leafy greens like salad, fruits, tubers and roots, potatoes, yams, sweet potatoes, nuts, raw or dry roasted. That's important, raw or dry roasted, because most of them are cooked in oil. So if you have nuts, go check them out. I bet they've been cooked in oil. And you'll see that in the ingredient list. So try to find ones that are dry roasted or raw. That way you can avoid those. Omega-3 seeds, hemp, chia, flax, dark chocolate, in moderation. Dark chocolate is good. It has anti-inflammatory properties. Spices of all kinds. They have beta carotenoids and phytonutrients that are anti-inflammatory. Olive oil, coconut oil, butter, cream, avocado, bacon, avocado oil too. But olive oil, make sure it's from Italy, because some of them are contaminated with different omega-6 seed oils. So that's important that you try to find ones that have the Italy stamp on them. Coconut oil, great source of omega-3s. Usually it's saturated and it comes in, it's a solid at room temperature, so it comes in a jar. Butter, butter is good for you. Look for Kerrygold, that's a good one. That's grass-fed, and it actually, I think personally, tastes better. Cream, avocado, and bacon. Yes, bacon. Yes, these are all good for you. Again, bacon in moderation, but it has good saturated fats in it. My brother started looking for soaps that were made out of animal fat, trying to avoid the chemicals in soaps. So, it's kind of interesting that we're kind of shifting back towards, what we used to live off of back in the day, but with processing and the industrialization of stuff, we've kind of dug ourselves a hole and processed a lot of things and contributed to a lot of chronic diseases and chronic conditions through this. Coffee and green tea. So, active wellness recap. To surmise: eat well, choose a diet rich in plants, vegetables, grass-fed beef, pasture-raised eggs, chicken, fruit, minimal grains. Think well, choose to look at things positively, practice mindfulness, meditation, NET, etc. Move well, exercise regularly, at least 4 times a week, avoid prolonged sitting, get your tune-ups in, come see us, we'll get you moving again. So eat well, think well, move well. This is one of my favorite quotes. It's from Plato. It says, "In order for a man to succeed in life, God provided him with 2 means, education and physical activity, not separately, one for the soul, the other for the body, but for the 2 together. With these means, man can attain perfection." So it's just really cool because, back then he was just saying you need to care for your mind and care for your body. And so I really implore you to start thinking about that way, striving to live better. You don't have to start cutting everything out and try to live this perfect lifestyle. Make a slow change, start with small goals, go for the big ones eventually. But yeah, I just thought this would be good and perfect for this because this is one of my favorite quotes, and it kind of talks about nourishing the mind and nourishing the body. So make sure you're getting that movement in, make sure you're eating well, and then make sure you're taking care of your noggin upstairs. So again, if you didn't get it yet, this is our paradigm: physical, chemical, emotional, and then where you fit right in the middle, right in the center. So all of these different things come in and influence whatever you walk in through the door. It doesn't have to be 3 perfect circles. It could be a large physical one and then a couple smaller ones, but what I'm saying is that they all influence what's going on. So it's important that you think of each of these different things, when you're thinking about, why do I feel the way I do? Think about the food you've eaten, the things you've done throughout your life, and everything that's going on in your life mentally. Do you have a good relationship? Do you have a good relationship with your family? Are you happy? Are you practicing gratitude? Do you have a good relationship with your children, etc.? This is another one. This is very prominent in research. It's called the biopsychosocial model. Very close to the other one that we practice. In my opinion, it's almost there. It's not quite there yet, but it calls into the reference of, your physical aspect, your biology, and I guess you could throw technically nutrition in there, and also the mental components, societal things like your peers, your family relationship, kind of like we talked about, and also your personal psychological state, how you view yourself positively, your self-esteem, physical health, are you happy, that kind of thing. So why should I come in if I feel fine? Everyone is exposed to habitual movement patterns. These are movement patterns that you do on a daily, weekly, monthly basis due to things like life, work, exercise, etc. These movement patterns can contribute to persistent and/or reoccurring issues. The best predictor of future issues is past issues. Examples are recurring muscular trigger points, muscular imbalance, tension headaches, subluxation fixation patterns, habitual postural adaptations. So I really like this SpongeBob meme over here because I think that illustrates things pretty well. This is Squidward, and he moves to this neighborhood of a bunch of other Squidwards, and he does the same thing day in, day out, and eventually he's an unhappy camper and he's pretty miserable. And I think that just kind of illustrates pretty well, when you're doing the same things every day on a daily basis for years to come, that's kind of what walks you through the door. It's usually not, oh, I just picked up this thing and I hurt myself. It's what have you been doing for the past, 1 year, 5 year, 10 year, 20 year kind of a thing. Ultimately, people are unlikely to change up their routine, which can lead to chronic or reoccurring issues. This is why stopping by for tune-ups is important. It can keep you moving forward towards your goals, and if there are issues, you can nip them in the butt before they become a real problem. Lastly, we can help optimize the function of your body, right? So it's kind of talking about the stuff I talked about in the beginning, where we can optimize that function, and also we could help you move and get out of those movement pattern routines and stop them from becoming an issue. So we could chop it off before you're an unhappy Squidward. One of the reasons I love the adjustments and the way we do them is because you can see the functional change by the time you leave. So we give you we do an adjustment, and then we also test for muscle strength. And so, whether that's testing your legs or your arms, or individually testing those segmental or those regional issues in your spine, we can see changes in strength after we correct it through chiropractic. So I think that's super cool. And I think that differentiates us from other chiropractors, because some chiropractors will just adjust you and then they'll walk out of the room, versus us, where we adjust you, we test your strength, and once you're good and solid, then you're ready to go conquer the world, right? So this is a good picture that shows like why a wellness adjustment would be great. And that's because once we get you through your issue, there we go. Once we get you through your issue, then we can move you towards a wellness, having you actively pursue physical, chemical, and emotional wellness, versus having you come in once in a while every time you're in pain. There's no guarantee that, we'll be able to get you back to that same level. As you can see, it kind of starts to dip off. And that's because people will, like I said, the best predictor of future issues is past issues. And so if you're coming in every single time you have neck pain, maybe one time it's not going to work as well, and it's not going to go away to the same degree that it used to when you first had that issue. So that's why we like to get you towards that wellness lifestyle, into that maintenance category, where you come in once a month, once every 2 weeks, something like that, whatever works for you. Keep you moving well, keep you functioning well, give you exercises and stretches if you need them, give you some guidance, give you some supplemental help with different nutritional consultations, just helping you. At the end of the day, we want you to do what you want to do. So, we want you to spend time with your family, be active. And once you stop being able to do that's a problem for you, and it's a problem for us, because we want to see you doing the things you want to do. So the last slide, chiropractic wellness care. People are akin to cars. Even cars need maintenance work. Our goal is for you to feel good and leave feeling better. Whatever your goal is, we want to help you reach it, and we're glad to be on your team. So I had to throw in a meme here. Hearing about hearing about maintenance care as a new patient versus when you hear about it after. So usually that's how it goes. When you bring that up in the beginning, people are like, I don't know about that. But then, by the end, they're like, it sounded pretty good. So that is the end of my talk. That's all I got for you. So I hope you enjoyed this Zoom recording, and I hope you learned something. And you can always flip back if you need it. You can come to our office. You can schedule online. Our phone number is 440-352-0444. And you can schedule online if you want to make an appointment. We got some awesome specials going on this month for May. It's my dad's 30th year practicing. And so we wanted to celebrate and give back to the community that made him who he is for the past 30 years. So we've tried to offer as good of a discount as we can on pretty much everything. A lot of things were 30% off. This week it's 30% off the HSR. What that is it puts a microphone near your heart and it listens to the different valves of your heart. If you want more information, my dad posted a video on Facebook, so go check that out. Next week, we have a deal on the Zerona, which is a fat loss laser. And what it does is it opens the fat cell and allows that fatty acids and triglycerides to come out of the cell and to be circulating in your body. So it doesn't get rid of the fat cell, but it gets rid of the contents of it, and it allows it to circulate and metabolize or go through our waste system. So that's gonna have a really nice deal next week. So make sure you check that out if that's something you're interested in. And then you can check out our website, sopchakchiro.com/30-year-sale. And I can put that in here. There you go. So you can visit our website, check that out, see the deals we got. We got some deals on Relight and water bottles. We also have a shirt. The shirt is super, you know what? Let me get it for you. The shirt is super nice material. It looks like this in celebration of the 30 years. And it's a very good price. And if you do buy a shirt, you get a chance to, and you take a picture in it, then you get a chance to go on a lunch date with my dad and I. And if you take a picture with it and post it on social media, you'll get a free roller table or a free vibration table session, the vibration plate. So definitely scoop that up while you can. Check out those deals. They're excellent in commemoration of my father. So yeah, hope you learned something. Take care, guys.